Hey, Mr. Ireland, we can hear you, but I'll let you know when the meeting starts officially.
Big city problem.
Okay, all right, it's 6 PM, so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Downtown Development Authority of Fairburn. Um, First thing I want to do is go ahead and call roll. I know that Mr. Ireland is with us virtually. As I call your name, please just signify that your presence here by saying that you're here. All right, Todd Ireland. I can't hear you, but I did see your mouth move. Are we able to get that fixed?
Present.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Chris Wiley. Don't see Chris. Miss Patricia Chambers.
Present.
Homer Knight.
Present.
Mika Smith.
Present.
Letitia McCoy.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. And I would like to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. The first agenda item that I have is approval of the meeting agenda. Could I please get a motion to approve the meeting agenda, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to approve the meeting agenda. Letitia McCoy.
Second, Mika Smith.
All right, the approval of the meeting agenda has been motioned and properly seconded. All those, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, the next agenda item that I have is approval of the meeting minutes from when is the last time that we met?
April 23rd.
April
23rd.
23rd meeting. Can I please get a motion?
Motion that the April 23rd, 2025 minutes be approved as is. Homer Knight.
Have a second?
Second, Letitia McCoy.
All right, the approval of the meeting minutes from the April 23rd, 2025 DDA meeting has been motioned and properly seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? All right, that motion is approved. All right. Going on into the discussion items, first we have administrative roles and responsibilities. From my understanding, Ms. Sylvia Abernathy is going to be leading this discussion.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. This evening, the administrative roles and responsibilities are items that we discussed previously at the beginning of the year. They deal specifically with the roles that are defined in our bylaws, namely the role of the chairman, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and assistant secretary. This evening, we are requesting the board to consider not only discretionary administrative responsibilities of the chair, but also to add assistant secretary for issues related to signatures for different projects and to work alongside Mr. Ireland in times where there's a need for assistance. So that is before the board for your consideration and for discussion for this evening.
Sylvia and I had an opportunity to talk, and essentially this role for the assistant secretary would be in the case that our secretary, for whatever reason, is unavailable to be able to add his or her signature to documents that we need. And as you all know, a lot of these documents are urgent. There are deadlines that we cannot miss. Otherwise, we have to restart the entire process. And so in lieu of that, we would like to be able to have another board member hold the position of assistant secretary. That way, when that need arises, that person can fill in that void. Any questions or comments, thoughts?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
On legal documents, is it legal for Assistant Secretary to sign off?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Hambrick, who is representing our Authorities Council and Safarth. Yes.
Yes, it's legal, so they can sign on behalf. He's just that, he or she would be that assistant to sign in their behalf. So you're just signing on behalf of the secretary at that time.
You're signing in behalf of the Secretary for his absence?
Well, as the assistant.
Yeah, okay.
And I would say, essentially, if we gave that person that authority to be able to do that as a board, I mean, we can make it as broad or limit it as much as we would need to. But I think from a legal standpoint, if we, as the board, agreed that this assistant secretary would have that power, then they will have that power. If we limit that power and say, well, there are only certain documents that this individual can sign in lieu of the secretary, then we can proceed that way and limit their power.
And also, Mr. Homer, in the bond resolution, it's indicated that it allows the assistant secretary or vice chair to be able to sign certain documents when either are out because of other circumstances. So this is also inside the documents that have been validated.
Okay, I'm satisfied.
All right. Any other discussion, comment, question on the assistant secretary role? All right,
This is Todd Ireland. I have a question.
go ahead.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, especially in my absence. However, in regards to the bylaws, can a member of the board hold two positions? Because right now, don't all members hold a position?
No, we have at least three members that are not holding positions at this time.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
All right, and the other position is the vice chairman position, which is essentially secondary to me, which is they would feel that same type of role to be able to sign documents in the event that I'm not able to or my absence. And so, again, if there is a need to broaden or limit that person's authority, we as a board can do so. But again, they will be acting in the event that I'm unavailable or have a conflict. All right. And so from my understanding, the process would be we bring this forth as a motion. Would I need to ask for volunteers for these positions
Yes,
first?
sir. You would need to ask for volunteers, and if not, then the board may nominate.
Okay. All right, so in the role of assistant secretary, is there anybody that want to volunteer for that position?
I can help.
All right, and in the role of vice chair person, is there anybody that would like to volunteer for that position? Ms. McCoy. All right. Any further comments, questions, concerns before I put this before the board for a motion? All right, seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion that we appoint Ms. Mika Smith as Assistant Secretary and Ms. Letitia McCoy as Vice Chairperson of this board. Can I get a motion in that regard?
A motion that we, Alicia McCoy and Mickey Smith to hold those two positions. Hold those two positions.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, any further discussion? All All right, that motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? All right, the ayes have it. We now have a vice chair and a assistant secretary. Congratulations to both of you. All right, authority for the bank
Yes.
account.
The next item is authority bank account, and our treasurer, Ms. Patricia Chambers, will comment on that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
So I've had a conversation with the bank, and we've got some housekeeping things we're going to have to take care of. And there has to be a motion, and it has to be in the minutes that I need to take to a meeting on July the 1st. So the first thing we got to do is add the Chairman Crum as a signature on it. But then after tonight, that's going to bring up another. If he's not available to sign a check, we want to add another signature to it.
Yeah, so the board will need to make that decision tonight as well.
Okay, so we're going to need to add the chair and the vice chair as a signature on the bank account. Once I have the meeting, they will probably do a new signature card and ask each of y'all to come to the bank and sign it. So you could sign a check.
Does it have to be,
Is that a local bank in the area?
It's Ameris Bank on Highway 74 in Fairburn, headed toward Tyrone on the left.
Okay.
And they've had a change in the staff there, so I'm not really sure. I'll know July the 1st who we'll be talking to at the bank, but they will need both of y'all to sign. We also probably need to do a motion to take Mr. Wells off.
Correct. The former chairman, Rufus Wells, is still on the account, so we'll need to do a motion to remove him this evening, and it needs to be in the minutes. So we have three motions regarding the bank account.
That's right. And so I did talk to her, and the other thing we had talked about, and we've never really acted on it, but we may want to do it tonight since I've got to go change everything anyway. It's a public funds account right now, and it earns about 1.41%. She suggested moving it to a business money market. It's a high yield because of the balance in there. It'd be 3.3, or it was yesterday, 3.35% with a 3.41 yield on it. So that's something else. In order for me to change it, I'll have to have it in the minutes and take it with me as we go. So there's really, I guess, 4 items we need to do tonight. We have a closing Friday. They're going to deposit another amount into the account. So it's, if we have to write a check, it's something we're going to have to take care of. Maybe one more item.
Okay,
I've never ordered checks.
okay,
I just have the starter set they gave me.
okay.
So if you want me to do that while we're there, and
So the other thing that we need to make sure of is the number of signatures for a check. The board will need to decide whether they want that to be 2 or all 3. So that is something that, whether it has to be the treasurer, the chairman, and the secretary, or who you want to sign for checks.
now these 3 invoices we have, is that something we're going to have to?
So those 3 invoices are being billed to Portman, and those are the amount of monies that we are receiving.
Receiving, okay.
Yes, so we are receiving those funds.
Okay. And then, so I guess we just need to get our housekeeping straightened out on that bank account.
okay.
And my meeting is July the 1st with them at 10.
Yes.
She wants us both to come if you're available, so. All right, any questions?
Yeah, let me just make sure I got all the things that are gonna have to come for a motion.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a motion to add a chairman's signature on the account, a vice chairman's signature on the account, remove Mr. Rufus Wells from the account, motion to change or transfer our funds from a public funds account to a money market account,
High yield money market.
okay? And then a motion regarding the number of signers on a check. Is that accurate, Sylvia?
That's correct. I do have
And
one
order
question.
checks.
Did she say that there are
Order
any
check.
challenges with us moving to a money market? Anything for us to consider? So the only reason she wants to change from a public funds to the money market is to increase the interest rate?
That's right. And that's something that, once we talk about it, we can decide.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay.
So we can talk about that too, if we want to hold off on, till you and I get to the meeting and decide if
Okay.
whether we want to transfer those funds. All right?
I got one question.
So,
Is there any unknown liabilities in making that change? That costs us anything?
The only thing would be the deposit amount.
What is it amount? What do you mean when you say that?
Well, it's a high yield. It's based on the amount of money that's in the account. And right now, before Friday.
Okay, the deposit is in the account.
The
Okay,
deposit.
I got you.
Yeah, I think I'm telling you right. As of today, it's $264,555.
That's what it's based on.
Yep, and then, of course, we're getting a deposit from the closing Friday.
Okay.
And it just gives us a chance to go from like 1.4 to 3.35% interest. But it's something, y'all, we can discuss. And,
When they drop below that, it falls back to the one?
well, is there a chance it'll go that? I don't think so.
Okay,
I think it's just a chance for us to earn an interest on the money.
okay.
and help me, does the treasurer have the authority to order checks, or is that something that we have to vote for her to order, just a
Usually,
checkbook?
usually it's like the executive director would have some hands into that.
I mean, I don't-
She'll be
do
at the
we-
meeting with me.
Is that something that we need to vote on?
So what the board needs to consider is how you want to handle transactions in terms of check writing. And the only thing that I foresee coming up is one of your colleagues, one of the board members, is wanting the board to consider a downtown beautification, which is to get a gardener or someone to be paid by the authority to kind of upkeep and to help businesses by keeping the downtown area. That's just an example. So if we do that, then that would be something that, if needed, we would invoice the account for that. I do not foresee any need to write checks anytime soon. That's just me personally. But to have that check on file, I think that's what Ms. Chambers is referencing. To have that in place just in case we need it. Because if we need it and don't have it, then we have to schedule a meeting, the board has the vote. So now is the time to handle it. That's what Ms. Chambers is getting at. General housekeeping, to have these things in place and to know what the board's wills or your wishes are prior to any event coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
So just so I'm clear, we need to vote on whether or not she can order or request checks.
Yes, the reason why typically executive directors order those is that it is a place to keep it in.
Right.
You're right. Previously, our director of finance was the person who held on to different issues related to the Development Authority's account. Does that give us the right to write checks? No, it does not. We still have to go back to the treasurer, and the treasurer then has to go get the additional signatures. It is just a place to hold and keep documents, and for other accounting purposes, at some point, we'll need to consider having an accountant, because we are by law required to do an annual report. Is that? Yeah.
Correct.
So this year, because we do have funds in the account, we will need to do an annual report.
Okay.
So, yeah. Aaron, please let me know
Yeah,
if
and I
I
was
missed
just gonna
anything.
say one thing, when it comes to check, having 2 or 3 signers, I would suggest having 2. That way, and then you're right around the corner if they need, and then the treasurer, of course. So, easily accessible. It's like signing these signature pages. That's why we did the vice chair and the assistant secretary today. So those who are easily accessible, so you can get things signed quickly and keep it moving.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
So,
And-
so if we add if Mr. Crummer wasn't available and the vice chair had to sign, she's got to be on that signature card.
She can, yeah, she can be on the signature card. You can still have two signers, though.
Okay. All right. And then the last thing is our W-9.
Oh, yes, the
I'm gonna hand
W-9.
that over. That's for the closing for Friday with our EIN number on it.
Okay. So the motion for ordering checks, we would also need to include whatever fee, authorizing that she be able to pay whatever fee that's associated with.
Right. They'll draft that, right. But I do need bank statements on a regular basis. Because again, for our reporting, there are several different reports. We also have to do an annual report to the Department of Community Affairs, as well as for tax purposes, and then also for the annual report. There needs to be a way, the board needs to decide how you want to keep those bank statements, and then really, we need to have every month a report from the treasurer, even if it's just Ms. Chambers saying this is the account or the account is in good order. But just as a way of accountability, we do need to have that added.
So let's decide that tonight too, how you want to receive them. They suggested that we not do it online.
Okay,
They did-
okay. They did suggest,
Nobody
okay,
log in.
okay.
That was just their suggestion.
That was just their suggestion that nobody log in,
That makes sense.
have a login.
That makes
It would be a
sense.
paper statement, which I could go get,
Yeah.
however y'all want to do it.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I agree with Ms. Chambers, a paper statement, and then every month, she can make that report and then submit it to the board, so we have it as a document. But if she submits it to the board, is that public record? How does that part work?
In regards to the bank statements,
Yes,
that's the first for me. I haven't heard a board to just,
just so
Yeah.
they don't, how do they do the reporting of the amounts? Or do they? Because I've seen one where they just put it on the actual, I've seen one where they had it on the agenda.
yeah, and they just, when they need to discuss about usually they do it once a month. She has a treasurer report.
Okay.
and, But it's nothing that's ever discussed as far as ordering the bank statement. I haven't heard.
Okay,
That's
so
new
we
to
don't
me.
have to do the statements?
No.
Okay, all right, yeah, okay.
But we do need a motion for us to receive paper bank statements. Is that,
And that's up to the board. If you guys want the paper bank statements, I would just combine all of them one together. Just do a motion and go down your list.
Okay.
And then, do another motion to approve.
I got one question. Yeah.
go ahead.
If we mentioned county, is that a county person will be consulting once a year?
So,
With the bank statement, go to the accounting person. When they do the accounting, it all covers the same ground.
that could be the best way to do it. But I'm also gonna defer to Aaron on this one thing. We have to report on our bonds, as a part of our reporting,
DCA.
the DCA.
Once it's approved, trying to think off the top of my head, when the bonds, but that comes later on down the line. I don't think, it's not an annual thing that goes along with the tax, but I need to follow up with Dan on that. I'm not sure when they're called,
Okay,
but when you make that report, but it's not right off, like, once the deal is closed.
okay.
So but I can follow up on that and ask him. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, so but to your point, Mr. Knight, we could do it that way as well. If the board decided, then it would be something that annually we have the accountant, and then we submit all of our statements to them, and then they do the annual report.
It'll be kept much neater record-wise.
Yep, makes
Outside
sense.
sourcing.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Yep.
And one thing with the accountant, that'll come back to the board once Sylvia looks for somebody, you have to hire them, because right now, you wouldn't want to hire a full-time accountant.
Right.
So you would bring them in, do a RFP, Sylvia would look, bring it before the board, and see, and then they would be hired, and then they would you would ask them to handle those certain things, where they probably do a quarterly report for you, and Ms. Patricia would talk about it on a monthly basis, or when that month comes, when it falls in the month of that meeting.
I'd like to make a suggestion, though.
Yes, sir.
When that time come, can we look within Fairburn for county?
Most definitely.
Does there need to be a motion to have that type of search? Is that just a RFP that we need to motion for? Is that something
So what
your
we
office
did with
handles,
the
or-
attorneys, we opened it up for the board to make recommendations, and then we also had our city attorney's office make recommendations, and we opened it up to the public for attorneys to solicit their proposals. We arrived at the current attorney because of the fact of fees. Most of the attorneys that submitted their proposals, there was a fee involved. And we were just blessed that Seyfarth and Dan McRae, who is really a veteran in the top of the food chain as it relates to authorities and bond counsel, was willing to do it pro bono. Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, tonight, in this, what I'm doing right now when it comes to our treasurer and her report, I don't need to have a motion for us to do some sort of search or put out some sort of RFP?
No, no.
All right.
That'd be later on when you guys search.
Right.
Okay.
That'll be another agenda item.
Okay. Would that just be to make a final decision as to who we select, or what would that be?
Well, it's like, when you do your search, you may have 3 or 4 participants and then once you do that search and you say, okay, this is the amount that we're looking for, their fee. But you still want to, get enough in to see what's right for a budgetary purposes.
Right.
And then you guys would select out that 3, the best proposal that you like. And then it will be approved by the board if all are in agreement.
Right, which is in keeping with what we did with the attorney. There was a vote, and the vote was for the current attorney. It was narrowed down to 3, excuse me.
I'm with you. Okay. So as long as we don't have to I'll have to add that to this.
No.
And they all did presentations, that was another part.
Okay.
Just didn't submit the proposal, but they did give presentations, and the board had an opportunity to question and survey based upon questions they wanted answered or addressed.
We're good to move forward with, all right. All right, so before us, we have a number of items that I'm gonna ask for. Help me out, what type of motion am I asking for all of these items?
A motion to approve all your items.
Okay.
And then they can second.
All right, I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the following. A motion to add the vice chairman as a signer on the account. Motion to add the chairman as a signer on the bank account. A motion to remove Rufus Wells from the account. To transition our current public funds account to a money market account, for there to be 2 signers on all checks from the account, to order checks, and a motion to receive paper bank statements. Hope I got it all.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve all of those items?
Before we get a motion, can I ask you one question? This might have been already addressed, but one can draw money out the account, right?
No one can draw money out of the account. That is absolutely correct. On the checks, that's where the 2 signers, it's mandatory that the 2 signers.
Okay.
But that's where Mr. Hambrick was talking about someone else being the holder of the checkbook. That's why that is, because another person, so the checkbook wouldn't be in the signers, it would be in a totally different person's hands, and they would have to come to the office for the checks and for both people to sign.
Okay, all right.
So
I have a question. What about the,
Is that what, yeah.
No, I was saying, if you get past the executive director, the treasurer, the vice chair, and the chair, there's a problem somewhere.
So,
Okay.
just had a quick question. What about the W-9 forms? I heard W-9.
That was for the closing.
We don't have to make a motion on that?
No.
Or add that, okay. Just trying to keep up.
All right.
So the only other thing I would suggest is maybe when we make the motion that we use everybody's name, because I think
That's
she's gonna
exactly
ask
right.
for
She's
y'all's
gonna need the
when we
name.
go to
Okay.
the meeting.
Exactly right.
So let's use
Add the
y'all's
vice
names.
chair, Letitia McCoy. Yep.
Okay.
And then first is add the chairman. Because have you added, has Chairman Crum been added?
No, I have not.
So, yeah.
All right, so in your motion, if anybody makes the motion to approve the items, we're just gonna revise that. You add me, Brandon Price Crum, as chairman, as a signer on the account. Add Letitia McCoy as vice chairman, as a signer on the account as well. All right,
Remove, yeah, you've already gotten that. Okay.
now with those revisions, can I go ahead and get a motion to approve all of those items that we just discussed?
I motion that we approve those items as discussed by name of those different positions and signers on the check, as well as to remove a roof as well. And agreeing to, bank signatures, 2 on the check, and, alternate signers, but 2 at a time.
Being the vice chair and the chairman.
The
Or is it
vice
treasurer?
chair and the
The-
chairman.
Is it vice chair or
Secretary.
the treasurer and the chairman? What is your decision on who the 2 signers are gonna be?
Oh. Good point. All right, so let me take a step back just so it's clean. When I put the motion before the board for approval, does the person have to go through every item for that, or is it just to approve the items as listed? We're gonna relist the items just so we're on the same page, but is that proper?
Yeah, I mean, you can go through each item, but just to try to make it clean, I would just go, put them all in one, and then list how you guys did before in regards to vice chair, the name, who's signing, the removal of Rufus Wells. Just indicate that, but I would do it all in one lump.
Okay. So it sounds like we need further discussion on who is gonna be the signers on the check.
Your
Anybody have any thoughts, comments, questions on that?
Well, your treasurer is always gonna be one, and then obviously the chairman. And then if you're not available, then the vice chair.
So that's why I suggested having 2 signatories instead of 3.
Have 2 signatures, but there's 3 options. Is that,
Right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
let me do this again. So before the board, I would like to go ahead and ask for a motion to approve a number of items. First, I need a motion to add me, Brandon Price Crum, the vice chairman, as a signer on the account. Add Letitia McCoy, vice chairman, as a signer on the bank account. Remove Mr. Rufus Wells from the account. A motion that we change from a public funds account and transfer the money to a high yield money market account. A motion that there be 2 signers for every check. The signers and the option of the signers will include the treasurer, chairman, and/or vice chairperson. A motion that we approve the order of checks, and motion for paper bank statements. Did I get everything?
I think you got it.
Okay. Perfect. All right, can I get a motion to approve those items as listed?
Motion to approve those items as listed. Letitia McCoy.
Second. Homer Knight.
That motion has been brought before the board, properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any nays? All right, the ayes have it. All right, the next item on the agenda is the downtown beautification activities. Are we gonna table that?
Yeah, Mr. Chris Wiley was making some recommendations. I think we should probably table until the next meeting.
Okay. And then the last, under agenda item 4 is other items.
Other items for the board, if there are any regarding administrative roles and responsibility, if the board has any other items that they would like to discuss related to the functioning of the board.
And let me take a step back. It looks like I skipped over
Discretionary
the
authority for the chair.
discretionary
Yeah.
authority of the chair.
So that was brought up. The discretionary authority of the chair was actually brought up by our authorities council. There are certain times that the chair is involved in discussions early on in the Portman project. There was an issue that came up. The attorney representing one of the projects was also representing, no,
I think that gets into attorney-client privilege communication.
does it? Okay, well,
Not privy to this one, I didn't know.
okay, so we'll leave that. The point is that the chair needed to make a decision related to the board. And so we have to put on the table, there are sometimes the chairman is called and needs discretionary. And we have to, as the board, you all have to decide how much discretion he has. So that we're not calling a special council meeting for something small and folks saying, hey, you could have just, you could have just handled that. So,
That would go, you put that into
executive session? Okay, all right, so we'll roll that into executive session.
All right. All right, anything else that we need to discuss under agenda item number 4? Is there anything that any of the board members like to address as it relates to administrative roles and responsibilities?
I had a question, but it's gone. I can't think what it was. I mean, that's something to ask the question.
Okay. If it,
Come back up.
yeah, if it comes back to you, let us know. All right, anyone else? All right, well, the next agenda item is an executive session item. And so I'm gonna ask that we go ahead and motion that we go into executive session to discuss real estate.
I make a motion to go into the executive session for real estate. Letitia McCoy.
Second, Mika Smith.
All right, the motion for us to go into executive session to discuss real estate has been properly brought before this board and seconded. All those in favor of going into executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, the ayes have it. We are now in the executive session.
All righty. Okay, so we have to clear the room for executive session. How much space?